Hi, I'm State Senator Kevin Witkos, and welcome to the Veteran of the Month corner on my website. Throughout the next year or so, I'm going to be featuring different veterans that have served our great country that are from the 8th Senatorial District. And I'm very pleased to bring our first guest today, veteran from the town of Simsbury, Dan Crowley. Dan, thank you for joining with me today.
You're welcome, Kevin. It's a pleasure.
Oh, absolutely. Pleasure's all mine, sir. Let me tell you. Thank you for all your service to your state and to your country. But I wanted to, if you could share with our audience, what was the branch of service that you entered into, and when did you do so?
October 7th, 1940. That's 1940. Two other friends from Greenwich and I enlisted in Hartford, raised our right hands to join the United States Army.
So you're an Army guy.
Had no idea where we were going.
So where did you end up? Where did you do your training?
We had no training whatsoever. We wound up on Fort Slocum, New York, an island off New Rochelle, and wasted from October to January 2nd. Our time totally, without absolutely any training whatsoever.
So did you do any? You do push-ups? I mean, did
we
you
did
do
nothing.
basic training, or
did you
learn
fought
a
to get
skill?
ashore so we could have a few beers. That was our goal. But they didn't want us to go ashore to New Rochelle because they were afraid we'd go in the matter of the day. We might go over the hill.
So once you finally left the island, what was your role and responsibility in your unit?
My unit was only when I arrived in the Philippines. I was one part of the mass of U.S. Army recruits from all over the nation, and we filled a ship and left Brooklyn Navy Yard January 2nd, 1941 to sail to the Philippine Islands. We had no choice.
Well, I can understand why you wouldn't have a choice being in the military, but it must have certainly made an impact in your life to know to the day and the date, exactly the day that you shipped out of New York to head out to the Philippines.
You'll never forget it, because as the Statue of Liberty faded in the distance as we pulled away from New York Harbor, we had many regrets, I assure you.
You're going someplace you'd never been before, I assume.
A journey into the unknown.
Wow. Do you still stay in touch with any of your service men
They're
or
all
women that you're
dead
with?
that I
They all
know.
passed now? Yeah.
All the fellows I knew, should we say intimately,
Sure.
close, are dead.
After you were out of the war, did you stay in touch, or is that a part of your life you didn't want to renew the friendships or keep in touch with?
Well, when we got home, two of us, who out of the three alive, the other fellow was confined to a hospital with TB as a result of his incarceration for many months. And I simply went to work in Greenwich, traveling, selling, do nothing else. No one would hire you. We were marked as people that large corporations had no interest in taking a chance on, having been incarcerated as slave labor prisoners for 42 months.
So you were a prisoner of war.
Oh, yes, but more than that. We were not just prisoners of war. We were despised vermin slave laborers for the emperor.
Describe how that happened. What was your unit doing, or the guys that you served with at the time where you were captured? And tell us a
We
little
were
bit about.
captured, Kevin.
You weren't captured.
We were surrendered by the United States of America through the commanding generals. And the man who surrendered us first on Bataan in the Philippines, look it up on the map. Most people have no idea where the Philippines are. But the man who surrendered us was General Edward King of Georgia, the true hero, the true designer of the defense of Bataan, even though a fellow named General MacArthur got all the credit and became a hero, acclaimed by the press, of course.
Sure.
But General Ed King went home to obscurity. But his famous words in 1942 on Bataan, in one of the largest of the pest hole so-called prisoner of war camps I call them pest holes in retrospect. His words were, remember, if any of you get home alive, you did not surrender, I surrendered you.
If you had to go back in time, would you serve your country all over again?
Well, absolutely, of course. You always have this saying. I certainly didn't enjoy going through it, but it was educational in retrospect.
Well, Dan, I want to thank you. I'm glad you made it through all that, and you're sitting on the couch here, able to have this conversation with me, and I hope your message goes to speak to the servicemen and women that are currently protecting all of our rights as Americans and around the globe. We seem to be the police powers to make sure democracy reigns, and thank you so much. I want to appreciate it. Thank you for coming out.
Pleasure, Kevin. I hope I brought the message.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for visiting the webpage. It has been a great interview with Dan Crowley and all he did for our country and his service at the time. Check back next month to see who our next Veteran of the Month is. Thanks. You can always check it out at www.senatorwitkos.com.